When does artificial general intelligence become real?
Oh my God. Definitely after the humanoid robotic.
I'm a firm believer that we're going to have some more innovation around the corner that's going to change the way we think.
Where you think industries can be disrupted the most right now with artificial intelligence?
The healthcare space is absolutely ripe for it, but there's a huge liability component that's going to overshadow that.
I see AI as a utility. It's almost like electricity is like a water.
Hi, I'm Taissa, Maleh, venture partner at Pegasus, and I want to welcome you to a special episode of VC Unfiltered. It was recorded live during our Lightning Round 4, our signature pitch competition, where hundreds of companies applied, and after a highly competitive selection process, the top finalist pitched live in front of an audience of investors, founders, and operators. But to kick things off, we brought together an all-star panel to talk about AI and its growing impact on the startup world, featuring Mini Shi from TCLA, Carmen Palafox from 2045 Ventures, Brian Ray from Evident, and Tim Arnold from Steamwork Ventures. Now, a huge thank you to everyone who helped make this event possible. And don't go anywhere. At the end of this episode, you will hear pitches from 4 incredible startups shaping the future. Let's get into it.
And regarding defensibility, I'm curious, Tim, are you seeing any defensibility with AI wrappers here? And if you are, where in the market? Where can people carve out a little piece of this and use an AI wrapper to make themselves look like an interesting, innovative product?
I think embedding deeply into workflows and industries that are smaller subsegments. And we have a particular portco that is focusing on something. There's a behemoth in the industry, and they're going, it's too small for this behemoth to try to pick this up. It's incremental value to them. But if they can own it, they can grow it. There's nothing necessarily defensible rather than just the relationship and the trust, a first mover advantage, but there's no reason to have domain specific data or create their own model. But they can create a relationship that allows another company to cross-sell or integrate to it. And I think that's a great place to get in without a tremendous amount of time. To Min Yi's point, we're looking at how long. How long can we find out if it's going to work, if we're going to buy it, and most importantly, can we sell it? That's a great place. That acquisition strategy is still ripe. Large companies still have pressures. They still have stakeholders. And if they can grow through acquisition and we're funding those acquisitions, we're all in a great place.
Absolutely. And then Carmen, for these companies that do want to evolve past that stage, for the company that's not trying to get bought in 2 or 3 years, if fundraising continues to get harder and harder. So where do you advise companies to evolve past the wrapper stage? I'm sure you see a lot of this stuff. How do you convince people to maybe think bigger or expand on, being an LLM wrapper and then what? Like, what's the next step?
I think it's about increasing ACV within an organization if you're selling to enterprise. So, as a startup, you may start in one silo, but ideally you can cross departments. One of our companies, Chantico Technologies, is able to have use cases across different departments like compliance, trading, sales. And so if a company can do that, then I think they build that moat, that stickiness and defensibility. But I'm also thinking about how is the company thinking about their own feedback loops and how they're getting feedback from their customers and how they're consistently trying to benchmark against the LLMs, right? Like that's part of our diligence process is looking through to see, well, how do you compare against a chat GBT and what are the responses and how do they differ?
Thank you very much. I agree with that. The verticalization is definitely one strategy there that I think can be really effective for people. And we are seeing a lot of this. I think there was a stat I saw a couple of days ago that said, by 2028, there's an assumption that 60% of SaaS could be replaced by AI agents working within companies to clear up those workflows, because there has been a lot of bloat of software that manages projects and manages your workflows. And now you don't necessarily need that. You can have AI agents that can really take large bits of it and start to do, especially the repetitive work, and take that off the table for people and make them more efficient at their jobs, which is, I think, where we are right now. And I'm curious, Brian, what industries are you most excited to see tangible products and solutions using artificial intelligence?
Our biggest industries are healthcare, life sciences, and financial services as far as revenue is concerned, investing in AI, investing in our services to get it done. But I'm equally excited about what's going on in like public sector and manufacturing and supply chain, especially in other areas as well, and even retail. So I don't think it's an industry specific. The also thing I've seen is some cross-pollination of use cases across industry, which is quite relieving. I like the idea of being able to make reusable technology. So I don't think it's really necessarily an industry, but you need to go pretty deep on industry to really build that moat. As you said before, you need to have that expertise to make it unique and make it really valuable.
Tim, I actually want to ask you the same question. I might make this a panel-wide discussion here. I think it's very interesting to hear where you think industries can be disrupted the most right now with artificial intelligence.
The healthcare space is absolutely ripe for it, but there's a huge liability component that's going to overshadow that, right? And it's really going to stall the ability to implement and test because there's a fear on that, any kind of misdiagnosis, miscalculation, but it could provide the greatest improvement for the masses. And it has nothing to do with geography or economics. It's a great political impact. Somebody who's got 4 young kids and looking at their future too. But I think, for the short and now, SMB tooling, things that allow small accounting firms, architects, legal groups to just run their business more efficiently, make less errors, spend more time servicing their customers, and be bottled down by less tasks that are not value creating. And I think that's a short-term, immediate, real green pasture for us.
Carmen, what about you? What excites you right now about artificial intelligence and where it can be useful?
Areas we lean into are fintech, health tech, and climate. And within climate, I think a lot about energy and the demands for energy as it relates to AI. So looking for solutions in that space as well as in resiliency as it relates to industrial and supply chain. So those are the areas that I think that AI has a lot of applicability, and the time is right now.
What about you, Minnie? What are you thinking?
I see AI as a utility nowadays. It's almost like electricity is like a water. AI is a utility. So for me, I'm excited about the AI actually using in the robotic, and I'm actually interested in AI going to the physical AI that can actually directly interact with the physical world. And before that, there actually a gap, a filler in between. Is a lot of digital application of digital twin. Sounds old term right now, but it is for AI to do a lot of simulation optimization before any physical AI can deploy it. This is oftentimes a lot of things excite me, and to me, that one of the fundamental is that yes, we talk about a lot of AI software 1 and 0 digit in the world, but don't forget there's a huge need, and then also the infrastructure need to support that to function well. So I personally are interested in edge AI, edge computing, enable AI, but so there's a bunch of that kind of tangibly that surrounding the AI space, right? That enable the edge computing and the AI, you actually also need a communication goes up. So remember the data that we all talk about 4G, 5G, and particularly 6G. Right now, it's become a noise because of AI coming out. But guess what? If you really want to enable all the AI everywhere, 6G, 7G, maybe not 7G, 6G, it will be also important too. So I see the entire infrastructure and the entire ecosystem growth around the AI itself and utilizing AI as a utility.
Yeah, I was just up in the Bay and attending some Microsoft panels, and they were talking, there were several people that had presented there, and one of the big topics was unstructured data and how much unstructured data is sitting inside organizations right now that needs help to become structures that AI can make use of it. Brian, are you seeing bottlenecks there when companies are coming to you with their data and they want to make use of this, but a lot of it is unstructured and needs to be reformatted to be able to use it?
I don't think it's new problem to have unstructured data that you're having difficulties wrangling. Even structured data in different forms because due to acquisitions and other places like that. I've also noticed a trend to use generative AI and other AI to automatically join or add some structure to some data where before it took a lot more work to get some observations out of data. So I think that we're seeing ability to integrate on a soft level data better because of AI and to observe it better because of AI. But I mean, there is a ton of data out there. There's no doubt about it. And making it useful is helpful. I think going back to use case thinking and looking at what you're trying to do with it from a business perspective is that you really want to figure out what your use cases are instead of like going around in the dark with a bunch of unstructured data, if you will. But if you do know what you might want to do with it, it's becoming faster time to market of doing that, hopefully because of AI.
Carmen, like, are you seeing a lot of startups using data where you question the sources of that data, right? Where people are coming in the door and they're saying, we have all this information, and you're wondering where it came from and they don't have answers? Or does that seem to be, are people paying for all of this information and all this data they have?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it is part of our diligence and understanding, where the data is coming from. Hopefully it is in the ideal case coming from the customers, so that they can then build that moat and create that stickiness. But yeah, that's a really important question that comes up in our process.
And another relation to data, Tim, when you were talking about healthcare, I was kind of thinking about not necessarily, wrong diagnoses or wrong information, but actually HIPAA law and access, giving third-party data providers, AI providers, access to information about patients. What are you seeing there, and what kind of thoughts come up in your due diligence when you're looking at companies in that respect?
Compliance in healthcare is an easier box to check with how the data is being handled. I think where it gets tricky is when a company's got a plan to anonymize the data and commercialize that. That's where the uncertainty comes from, and it creates a large level of due diligence there. We're not worried about them having it in-house, but if there's a commercialization strategy behind that, and even if it's just for research, that's a top layer of concern.
I want to do one more round robin here, kind of the opposite side of the spectrum. What industries do we think AI is far off from being able to augment workflows? Right? There's some stuff that it feels like it's difficult to touch. I think that more advanced reasoning is one. But Min-Yi, we'll start with you. Where do you see AI kind of being a little far off right now?
The TCA group, we actually experiment with the AI and ask AI to do the due diligence and the pre-screen for us. And there is a working prototype existing in the TCA group right now. So if that even investor is interested and be able to deploy such a multi-dimensional decision making to AI, I don't know. The limitation is a human imagination at this 2025. But the limitation will be bounded by AI next year, not by human.
And I'm not being political when I say this, okay? But watching some of our responsible AI motions in the current office, and even the aspirations of Stargate, which I think are misaligned on occasion, especially around the energy use and other things like that, or just the talent pool available to Texas and other places where we want to build data centers. But the real missed mark, and I don't know if this is an industry mark, it could be if you call that public sector, is forgetting about what quantum can bring around the corner. I'm a firm believer that we're going to have some more innovation around the corner that's going to change the way we think. So if we overinvest in data centers right now that aren't water cooled and that aren't environmentally sound and don't align with the demand out there, and we remove all restrictions of AI in kind of a unfiltered way, we might be shooting ourselves in the foot for the next innovation that's around the corner.
Carmen, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, honestly, and so I'll leave it at that. But my big question when I'm talking to an AI company is what happens when things go wrong? because I think that's where you can easily lose trust. So it's really understanding what the limitations are of AI and guardrails and where they're getting information and data is kind of how I think about the opportunity. But in terms of, what sectors it's not touching, yeah, I think it should be touching all and pretty much is, I think at this point.
Definitely many. Tim, do you have any thoughts here? Where might AI be have a bottleneck or not be able to touch?
I think complex legal work is always difficult. It's case law argument, and the size of your legal team usually wins those. Then looking at true creative strategy, right? Creation is not usually a repetition of the past or something that you can plot. On that early childhood development is really difficult because as the individuals are developing, their needs and their perspective and their interactions are going to change. And the last one is anything that involves ethics. I think that's the biggest bottleneck. We can never really rely on that. Not yet, at least.
All right, I wanted to move on to the last little segment here, which I'm calling our own little lightning round. I'm looking for one-word answers from everybody, and I'm curious. So we've seen industries tout self-driving cars at scale for years, and we're still not really there at scale. The humanoid robot feels very similar. How many years till we see robots commonplace in the home?
5.
Brian?
I was thinking 4.
Carmen?
10.
10. All right, Tim?
10 as well.
10. All right. I also think it's about 10, but we'll see. I was telling a friend back in 2017 I didn't think self-driving cars would be real until 2030. So
Uber was planning the air taxis in 2025.
2025, right? And we were supposed to be fully self-driving by
I think we're
2021.
still probably 5-10 years off.
Keith, if I may, actually, I have a problem with the humanoid robotic. I don't think it's a solution. I think this is a specialized robotic is the way to go. So I will say that the 5% will come and goes, and then will be replaced by even better non-humanoid robotic.
Right. So the humanoid robot that it's the one turning the screws in the manufacturing line instead of the human, or checking the bag to make sure it's not leaking, but not the kind of humanoid robot that's doing your dishes and then folding your laundry and then going and doing other tasks around the house. I see. Okay. All right. Second question. What industry in particular are you most excited to see AI augment workflows or solve problems? Minyi?
Designing next AI.
Oh, so AI is designing other AIs.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Brian? What do you think?
Well, I still think, even though it was used in, for instance, Stargate, is that, curing cancer or addressing disease with AI is still very interesting. So I still have to side with that, that we can, fix the healthcare problem.
All right, Carmen?
My latest investment is in biomanufacturing. So food production is an area that I've been looking at.
Oh, interesting. Can you say a little bit more about what in biomanufacturing you're really excited about?
Yeah, it's this particular company is working on plant cell technology. So producing complex compounds like ashwagandha or stevia, and in the future, commodities like rice. So using less land, less water.
Super interesting. What about you, Tim?
Healthcare and specifically early disease detection.
I like that one as well. I think it's really cool that we've already seen several examples of that of drugs being created by AI because it's able to look at data and analyze it in ways that humans just don't understand, or we can't put it all together, but a computer is really good at that. All right, last question here, and then I'm going to cue it back up to you, T, so get ready. When does artificial general intelligence become real?
Oh my God. Definitely after the humanoid robotic. 10, 15.
15. All right. Okay. Brian?
I mean, is it real if it happens and you don't realize it?
I think so. It is real, but only it would be able to tell you when it became real, I think.
I would say 10. But I like Brian, I think, quantum is going to be another big revolution that is, here, and will probably pick up steam within the next 10 years as well.
Probably 7 to 8, and I think it's hardware dependent to that point, Carmen. When the cost of compute starts coming down, then you'll probably see a lot more consistency. But again, I'll go back to as soon as we accept that they're not perfect, like humans aren't perfect, and we see a parity. That's when it becomes real.
Oh, very interesting. All right, one more because we're talking about quantum. Minyi, when does quantum become real? What do you think?
Aha! That's my passion. The quantum will go before the general AI. I think because that's a reason I say AI designing AI, because the progress is only going to go faster in that sense. However, there need to have a fundamental change on the algorithm itself. Today's AI is not the ultimate AI. It's not cannot support the intelligence. Quantum will be yet another utility, but it's not a solution. So that to me is the architecture of the algorithm behind that. It is most important. So quantum, yes, it's coming. It's a so-called that always next year's technology, but I will say 10 sounds not more reasonable right now because a lot of new announcement
All right, so
exciting.
quantum 10, and artificial AGI 15. Brian, what do you think? You were nodding your head.
Yeah, I kind of agree with me on the timeline. I think that there would be one feeding into another. It's kind of Moore's law, if you look at it that way. If it is Moore's law, then you're 8, 10 years off before it really matters. And the rewrite of application is going to be quite heavy too for algorithm, so that can deal with qubits and stuff like that.
Well over my head. Carmen, what do you think?
I mean, so a lot of these are still, there's companies out there, right? But because the timing's off, it still feels like a science project. And so I think that's what, without that capital, it just elongates the time to market. So I do think it's about 10 years out. And then same with robotics, right? It's like my first fund was hard tech and hardware, and it just takes a lot longer to commercialize and is a little more capital intensive on the front end. So, you have fewer investors willing to go there.
Right, because fewer investors that have the pockets deep enough to be able to get you to production, right?
Or the patience,
Or the
right?
patience. Yes, that's right. Right, to see their dollars come back in their pockets. Tim, last and final, what do you think?
Minyi is my quantum advisor. So 10 years, Minyi, is that what we say?
That's what he said. 10 years for quantum and 15 for AGI.
No, I'll have to push my AGI out then.
I can always change a little bit. It's a 10-year for a dog or a 10-year for a human or a 10-year for a turtle. That's different.
Sure. Once again, thank you so much to our panelists for being here. I love this conversation.
If it's okay, I actually do have a question for everyone because there's a lot of new talk about MCP, the model context protocol. How you guys see that actually accelerating the scale of having more automations and more workflows automations for everyday usage, including like Mini already said that, TCA it's already using for due diligence. So is that a sense that we're going to be last human touch in a lot of things that we do, just because now you can have a server in a client actually just replying and automating to every single message that goes through or every single thing that we do for the internet?
Well, history repeats itself, right? So when we started getting the internet age, standards came right behind it, and that helped us progress quite a bit. So we're seeing MCP, but we're also seeing A2A, agent to agent, being released, and that's also an important protocol. So I think this is just the natural progression of the technology, having standards that follow up innovation.
Question over here in the chat that I want to throw to you guys too. Do you see AI impacting education as well?
I'll let others talk to on this, but the first standards that came out around it from like University of Michigan, that was basically based off the Stanford, whatever, they started putting things in right now to be defensive against it immediately. That shows a sign that it's being used and that's needed from governance perspective. So for the students, yes. For the teachers, yes. Absolutely, it's going to be important. It's going to be an important tool that also needs defended for improper use as well.
I'm an adjunct professor at USC, and we were given an option, allow students to use it or don't. And for me, I opted to allow students to use it, but tell me what they're using, because it also offers me insights into what that generation is using, which is fascinating. But two, I think it's helped level the playing field, especially for international students who can use it to really refine their messaging, and so I think it's beneficial. We have within the faculty different groups that are focused on AI and surfacing what technologies are new. So there's a lot of conversation on how to adapt coursework and learnings to make sure, we don't want to test or grade against AI. We want to make sure that our students are mastering what we're teaching.
Yeah, we're tracking a company. I mentioned early childhood is difficult because it's really hard for pattern recognition to understand how the information is being absorbed. But for some of the later years, they're able to augment the content in the delivery, whether it's visual, verbal, static, interactive, depending on how it's being received and recalculated, basically. And so they're seeing mass performance increases because the whole cohort is not being put to a specific standard, whether set by a district or at the teacher or lecturer level.
One of my points, David just also put in the chat, that a lot of the times the student actually just copy and paste, when in reality, like we can do so much more. Especially I use ChatGPT as well, and we have like the deep research. If I really want to get into knowing the ins and outs to then be able to make my own thought process and my own decision. So yeah, you can use for good or bad. You can use to be more lazy, or you can use it to be more knowledgeable, right? And then take advantage of this whole new world that we live in. Any thoughts on there? If not,
Sir, I use AI to read all of the submissions and see if any of them detect pattern recognition if they were generated by AI.
And I think we're breeding a new profession of data observers, and I think that we're reading the output sometimes from things like GPTs, and maybe we're learning from them how to write better. Maybe there's actually something to observing data differently that'll change our culture and make us more intelligent in some ways. So I'm in favor of using it cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic, I would say.
One of the things I'm hoping is being emphasized in education in the coming years is to not trust not trust GPTs as facts, and to be critical of the information it provides. Because even though the hallucination is getting better, you do need to be cautiously optimistic and cautiously critical. Trust but verify the information that comes. And if we're not teaching the younger generation that, I get concerned that they will take this info as fact and not question, which that makes me a little nervous.
To me, the learning is a two-part. The one is just accumulation of the knowledge. That's why when we grow up, we just read. They ask to read, and you need to from zero, from empty a blank memory that you need to build up. But meanwhile, in the human education path, they also teach you how to make a connection, what's a methodology, how to process the data. And I think that this is exactly we are teaching our AI to mimic ourselves right now. And then don't get me wrong, I do see that human at this point that to be able to access a vast amount of the knowledge maybe is through AI, because they can summarize, they can make a connection. And Brian put out a good job title that they make it a connection observer, because the human need to master this method, methodology of making the connection, verify, digest the information that so far as of today, 2025, does not make sense to the machine right now. It's just a bunch of 1 and 0. But later on, once there's a breakthrough, go beyond that, that's a different story. So that's how I view the education. I do see that as a tool to accelerate the progress.
I think back to our news space and other things like that. There's a fine line between kind of losing touch with reality and becoming a critical observer, thinker who can detect what's real and what's not from outlets of AI or outlets from the news sources or anything else that exists in our society today. So I hope that we'll become better observers and not, blanketly dumb consumers, if you will, if you excuse the phrase. So like I urge people to question what they're seeing sometimes and use critical thinking to, to make their own decisions.
Luis, would love to hear your thoughts on the immediate risk that AI usage can impact the development of our own human powers and what pace the world is going. At what point will allow AI to take over every human decision? It's a loaded one.
Value is created not just from practical application, but from strategy, right? And that strategy is based on observation, intuition, and a little bit of a Hail Mary sometimes. Like everybody on this call is all swinging for the fences that's looking for something different to build. I don't know how you could ever predict the movements of human nature.
Even with MCP, that now if you log all of your data, like I connect everything, don't you think AI would be able to recognize my patterns and know me better than I know myself?
Well, until a Kardashian tells you what to do and you go and do it, AI is not going to pick that up. But there's too many external influences on our social behavior, I think, that are really difficult to find a pattern and be able to rely on it.
You're getting philosophical with me right now. And it kind of goes to your core beliefs too about, how much of this world is random and everything else like that. If there is some random things or some higher order, you obviously can't replicate that with machinery, which is what AI is. So yeah, it's a little too philosophical for me to answer right now. I need to like be in the desert or something to answer that question, but it's a good one. I'll be thinking about
Yep.
it, so I appreciate it.
Not in a beautiful island off the coast of Brazil, right?
You're like you. I need to be where you're at, looking at the moon come up. I'm on my
Exactly.
way. Yeah,
I'll see you here tomorrow.
I'm
But
on the
anyway,
way.
guys, I think this was a fantastic panel. So once again, Brian, Meany, Carmen, and Tim, thank you so much. That was really a great discussion. I think we got some not only great insights for all of us, investors and entrepreneurs, but a great segue to what we have coming up next. So now we're going to have the lightning round pitch competition, which, as I said before, we are at the fourth lightning round. Previous companies that have won this competition, they are now part of the Pegasus portfolio. We have Pegasus Angel Accelerator, where we invest $100,000 in promising companies that are going from the founder-led growth into building repeatable and scalable processes. So this is what we're looking for the finalists that are pitching here tonight. So all the judges, you have the forms to fill it out as we go for the pitches. The first one, it's Hannah from Playmaker. Then is going to be followed. Actually, I saw it on the chat that we have the order here. It's Hannah, then it's Playmaker, Knowledge, then Cracking Game, and Rex. So this is the order that we're going to go through. So let me just promote Hannah, and we shall start.
So my name's Hannah, and I'm CEO of Playmaker, and we are redefining sponsorships starting with sports. So over $100 billion are spent annually by brands on sports partnerships. And a prime example is Yankee Stadium. So take my beautiful Budweiser sign that I was in charge of when I was at Anheuser-Busch for an example. So you see a super crisp and refreshing light beer, whereas I see 70 emails going back and forth between me, the Yankees, and the creative agencies on specs, design guides, deadlines, and not approved, not approved, not approved from the Yankees because the white was too white. For me, it's a dozen Excels, each slightly different than the next, and no way to know which is the most updated version. And also for me, it's invoices stacking one on top of the other because of overtime and expedited services from both the creative agencies and signage agencies. So next time you go to a stadium, you see a logo on a sign, no, it didn't just magically appear. Taking a step back, as I mentioned, over $100 billion are spent annually on these sports partnerships. However, about 15 billion goes to waste because of unused assets, such as signage. And then also more goes to waste because of ineffective marketing spend. So with Playmaker, we're making sure that these deals and benefits are getting done, getting received by either party, and the brands are actually getting their money's worth. So overall, with sports partnerships, right now about $114 billion are spent annually. Yet that's growing at almost a 9% CAGR and will be at about 190 billion by 2030. And what a lot of people don't realize is that for every dollar spent on a partnership, almost an equivalent dollar is spent on the marketing to bring that partnership to life. It's growing for myriad of reasons, such as like new leagues entering the space, brands realizing that a lot of sports partnerships is a great way to reach fans, and just larger marketing budgets going towards that. But as I mentioned, over $31 billion is wasted because of the ineffective use of assets, time wasted, a lot of poor collaboration tooling are underlying causes. So that's where we come in. We're an automated system from deal creation to execution for sports partnerships. And I could talk about it all day, but I can also just show you a brief overview. So we're not looking to replace people. We're looking to give them the tooling to get their jobs done faster by either removing steps or skipping steps for completely. The first thing you saw was contract extraction. And then this had to do with an approval portal to create cross-company collaboration. We also can put together automated deals that optimize for your revenue, profit margin, and brand objectives, and then can also automate a term sheet. One of you had mentioned concern over legal work, so we've worked with legal teams on making sure everything's like approved on their end. We also have built a RAG system, so retrieval augmented generation, to make sure that we're using the user's data, both contractually and also whatever is stored in Playmaker, to provide them the answers to the questions that they may have as they go. So my take, there's a question of like, is AI going to replace SaaS? My take is that SaaS needs to be built with AI in order to actually be effective. I don't think it's going to replace it. I think it just needs to evolve. And that's how we're building from the ground up, is we have AI integrated throughout all different aspects. In terms of market opportunity, phase one has to do with sports. We're very focused there. Everything from entering the data sports market all the way through creating a secondaries market later on. But initially, we're going in with our software to help with better managing and automating these deals. Phase two is using existing infrastructure to support the licensing market, especially with our approval hub, and also building AI vision to auto-approve, auto-reject different requests. And then phase three is more focused on like the creator economy as a whole. With NIL, that's actually a huge tailwind for us. Our focus on go-to-market is B2B with both brands and rights holders. So we launched the product about 2 months ago, and in that time, we already have a few customers under the portfolio with about 30K in revenue. We yesterday had a conversation, our negotiation with the Astros. We've been working with them, but we finally came to an agreement on the contract. It's not official until the contract's signed. So you guys are actually all in on the secret. I have no idea how many people are on this call, but it's not official. But we agreed in principle to the terms, along with been working with Poppy on getting that contract across the line, and then a few other brands and teams. And this is just at the very bottom of the funnel. We have a ton at the top. Go-to-market, focusing on enhancing the product, using learnings from our initial customers, then also sales and outreach-led growth. We've actually had most of our customers convert because of they're doing inbound to us, which is great. Makes my life easier. And then also just network effects. So, and then we're the team to build it. So my background is in sports partnerships. I worked at Anheuser-Busch, where I was in charge of negotiating and executing some of the largest deals we have across leagues, teams, and talent. Sammy, strong background in enterprise software. Lizzie, lead product designer, and our advisor. So that was very, very quick and high level. How can I answer your questions?
So, Hannah, that was fantastic. Very well done. Congratulations on your progress. Really appreciate you coming up and pitching. Stay in the line, because we're going to announce the winner later at the end of everyone's pitching. So thank
Great.
you.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
right. Chris, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining and being on the call with us.
Likewise, I appreciate it. That 5-minute warning comes quick. So my name's Chris. The company's Knowledge, knowledge.com. We're bringing humanity and humans back to sales. I love the panel. You talked a lot about the proliferation of AI, and as it continues, there will be more and more of a premium placed on the ability to have real human conversations. So to start, I want to start with the numbers, if that's okay. We built a platform that's absolutely crushing it. Our users are seeing 66% more meetings booked. The cancel rate has dropped to nearly non-existent. And in terms of lead to opportunity, when you get on a meeting with someone until it becomes an open op in your CRM, is 3 to 4 times industry average. The sales tech market is massive, and sales in general is massive. My entire thesis is that sales happens when two things happen. Somebody wants to buy what you're selling, and they actually like you. I'm sure everybody has bought things that they maybe regretted later, but the sales guy was great and you loved him. And on the flip side, often you've seen great products that you just didn't want to buy from that person. So it only happens if those two things happen simultaneously. So I knew instinctually when we were building this that it was a data problem. The data had to exist. So I started thinking about, well, where does that data come from? And I guess I'll phrase this as a question. How much does your web browsing history tell about who you are as people? It's kind of a scary thought. Your web browser knows everything there is to know. So we started analyzing that data. Currently, we bring in 30 billion rows a day of website activity across 457,000 top-line domains. We go vertical with the data. We bring in 2,800 individual data points, everything from brand preference to marital status to political affiliation. I wasn't going to get into the technical stuff, but the Bern Elliott reference, I sort of had to. So we built on Amazon's transformer architecture, but we built a trimodal neural network with a third data head, replaced all the MLP layers with gated MLPs, and pre-trained everything on Electra discriminators instead of standard MLPs. And we also built on Anthropic's MCP framework, I'm proud to say, before OpenAI fully adopted it. We use those models to predict who is in market and who is looking to buy products. We then make it actionable. So we rank users based upon their rank prospects based upon their likelihood to buy. We build 4 different psychometric models. One of them is actually a Myers-Briggs. We have about 95% accuracy on unseen data. And then we use it to provide contextual guidance to users on how best to approach their prospects, what to do, what not to do. And again, it's contextual. So it will give me different advice than it would give one of you because our selling style is unique and different. We're already working with some massive companies. We launched 2 months ago. We've generated a ton of buzz through LinkedIn. Almost half of all of our traffic comes organically. All of our early GTM experiments have been working really well. This slide's a little old. We've doubled our user count. We're growing about 22% week over week with 45% organic. Our CAC dropped from $297 on day 0 to $16 at day 30 before stabilizing at 32. We're converting around 8% free to paid. That's doubled month over month since we launched. And look, this is an incredibly competitive space. We have big friends. We're one of 89 companies in ZoomInfo strategic partnership. We are in their seismic instance. All of their reps have access to our data. We have about 50 active reps that are currently using the platform from ZoomInfo alone. But really importantly, we're not reinforcing their narrative about intent. I think in a lot of ways, we're challenging that. And I've had great conversations. I know their CEO personally, and we've had some great conversations about this. And we're really trying to redefine what intent means. So traditionally, there were 2 ways of finding intent. First was your own website de-anonymization. So a prospect lands on your website. Who are they? Who are they at the company level? What's our best guess if they're behind a VPN? And that then becomes a channel to reach out to them. And then there's company level intent, which has kind of become the ABM standard. It's great if you're a marketer, but it's really not actionable if you're in sales. So we started measuring the individual in real time across the internet. What's really interesting is companies that don't perform nearly as well as we do have absolutely crushed it in terms of valuations. They're raising, they're getting acquired. Clay is a great example at $1.25 billion. They just raised 40 million. We sell directly to sales reps. Couple of reasons on that. I think every legacy company is trying to roll out some AI tool. The reason there's been no category killer is because everyone's looking at it the exact same way. How do I make this process more efficient? Where we're looking at it from the standpoint of how do we make a better process? We have a clear path to unicorn status. At our ARPU, 37,000 users, not an unheard of number. will get us there very quickly. I built all of this tech internally. I ran an agency for 3 years that I exited. We did on average around 10,000 meetings. This is what allowed us to scale as quickly as we did. Our deck, we have our team, 11 exits across our board. A couple of those names up there, I'm sure you'll recognize. Really built a strong team to really guide us on this process. We're raising $500,000. I don't think we need more than that. And to be honest, we're so close to the bottom of that hockey stick. I have no intention to take a dollar more than I need. And that is it. Right in time for the music.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate you taking the time and going through your pitch with us. Judges, you now have the form to fill it out so we can get scoring and move on to the next pitch. Andy, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Andy Worrell, and I'd like to introduce you to Cracked Gaming, a competitive tournament platform that's made for everyday gamers. So, a little bit of background before we jump in. And that background is that gaming 20 years ago versus where it is today is vastly different. 20 years ago, gaming was in its infancy, and the games themselves were such an adrenaline rush because they were so new and so unique and so novel that people loved playing them as it was given to them. I remember sitting next to my brother playing Madden NFL football, and we didn't need to go against anybody else other than the computer because it was so fun and it was so new. However, if you compare that to today, gaming has evolved, and yet that competitive play hasn't at all. Today's games are built to retain people's attention, not fuel the excitement and the adrenaline that gamers used to get from playing these games. And yet, the fire is still there in all of these gamers. Gaming is inherently competitive, and yet today's games don't give them that competitive thrill. So, gamers are stuck in these boring game loops that mean nothing and give them meaningless ranks with nothing at the end of their playing session. So, when they go and look for increased competition elsewhere, their options are absolutely horrible. And I don't mean that this is niche. There's 630 million people worldwide that suffer from this. That when they go and look for something beyond the base game, they look for competition beyond the base game, they either run into user-run tournaments that are inherently leave them with a bad taste in their mouth and are poorly run. They go on to gambling platforms where they quickly lose all of their money, or they're simply inaccessible because they're made for a very small portion of professional esport players. So, Cracked is the solution to all of this. Cracked is a centralized tournament platform that delivers these free-to-play, high-stakes competitions for absolutely everybody. And it's really simple to use. The first thing you do when you come on our website is register with your gaming account. Once we have that information, we use AI to pair you against someone who is going to be a good match and is in your same skill level. You go play your game on Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Again, we do not make any games. We simply leverage what is already big and what already exists in the market. Once you're done, you come back to Cracked and you submit your score. And with this, we're going after those same people that have evolved with gaming. We're going between players between the ages of 18 to 34 that play on average 30 hours a week. That's nuts. And it's not a niche subject. There's 40 million of these people in the US alone and 630 million worldwide. And why now? Well, we're seeing this really big trend shift in gaming where esports viewership is down. People are stepping away from wanting to engage with the games they love passively and back into actually playing it with among themselves, with their communities. They want to engage with the game they love so much. And we want to leverage this with our unique go-to-market strategy, where we partner with existing and already established gaming communities that host these tournaments, but don't host them well. We come in and we say, hey, we can host these tournaments and we can take care of the cash prizes you want to offer. Just bring your users onto our platform. With this method, we expect to see 25,000 users on our platform by the end of the year and an additional 2.5 million users, all at a $0 CAC. On top of this, we have a proven $2.20 customer acquisition cost via paid ads that we can launch at any time. And it's already working. Our platform is completely booked from now through the end of July, and people are lining up in the fall and the winter because this is such a good value exchange for them. Right now, we're simply monetizing through advertisers, but as we scale and as we grow, we're going to be implementing data-driven ads, subscriptions, and game reactivations onto our platform to give us an annual revenue per user of $76. Right now, we have 1,000 users on our platform, and we're currently getting $5 from each of these users. Our day one retention rate is 59%, and our tournament to tournament retention rate, meaning everybody that comes back after they played their first tournament, is 85%. Simply put, players love our platform. Again, right now we're sitting at that 1,000 user mark, but as we scale towards the end of the year using our go-to-market strategy, we expect to hit 25,000 users. Our team consists of myself, a Discord native, and an integral part of various gaming communities around the space. Our CTO is a veteran full stack and ad tech developer for the last 5 years, and our head of growth has been working with Xbox and Niantic in their marketing departments. I'd also like to highlight the lack of a corporate background from any of us, because this is critical to what we do and the adoption from our users. Gamers hate corporations. I have to say that over and over. We need to be seen as an extension of the community. So the fact that we're not jaded by corporate ideals and needing to go to the last dollar is something that is inherently loved by our users. We're also surrounded by incredible wealth and knowledge within our advisors. We have former founders, we have people from ad tech, and we have venture capitalists all backing us and all helping us on every step of the way. Right now, we're looking for $500,000 to increase our customer lifetime value by 40%, get us to that 25,000 user mark, and continue, again, to compound our monthly user growth by 29%. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Nice. That was fantastic, Andy. I really appreciate you coming over and doing the pitch for the judges. Congratulations on your progress, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you. Sean, who is our next and final pitch for tonight from Rex. It's great to see you.
Perfect. Yeah, great to see you too. Great to meet everyone. Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Humbled to be here. And my name is Sean Gilfillan. I've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on digital advertising. I've owned an agency that worked with 52 of the Fortune 500. And I'm here to tell you that the system is rigged. Not creativity, not marketing as a function, but the last mile of marketing, which is paid advertising or paid distribution. It's broken, it's bloated, and it's fraudulent. My team built the revenue engines behind iHeart, StubHub, Hotel Tonight, and billion-dollar beauty brands. We've been the CMOs, the agency execs, the in-house builders. We've all hit the same wall, which is it's not the marketing that's broken, it's the delivery mechanism. So we're replacing it. Currently, there's $3.5 trillion spent on marketing worldwide. To put that into perspective, it's bigger than the GDP of India, which is the 5th largest economy in the world. 2.5 trillion of that goes to people, agencies, consultants, and bloated MarTech. Only $1 trillion of that actually goes to digital advertising to reach a customer. And 60% of that is lost to ad fraud. So just think about that. Out of all the money in the world that's spent on marketing, only 15% of all marketing dollars is actually going towards taking your product and service and putting it in front of someone's eyeballs. That's insane. Just let that sink in for a second. Agencies, SaaS tools, consultants, bots, click farms, everyone takes a cut. No one takes responsibility. But founders deserve better. I've been a multi-time founder. Small businesses everywhere deserve better. 99% of businesses are small. They can't manage 12 MarTech tools, multiple ad channels. They can't afford 10K a month retainers to maybe get in the room with an agency. As it is, they're spending 20 hours a week on marketing tasks. So it's either they hire an internal team or they hire an external agency. But what if there's a third option? This is Rex, not a dashboard, not a SaaS tool, a chief marketing agent, a vertical AI orchestration layer trained on billions in media spend. Rex is plugged into your Shopify site so we can track attributed revenue by ad channel. Rex suggests an ad spend, and then he runs paid ads across our 32 ad channels and platforms, including Google, Meta, Amazon, connected TV, audio, and more. And unlike a human, he makes trades in real time. moving money around to where you have the highest ROAS. No setting up your own ad accounts on 32 channels, no keeping up with the latest Google algorithm changes, or if LLMs are going to be the next big ad platform. We do that, and that's how we affect ROAS. You just turn Rex on. Rex works to lower your CAC, increase your ROAS, while working and advising you on how to increase your AOV and lifetime value. He grows your revenue, moving your money around from whatever ad channel makes sense. $1K a month is the subscription cost for Rex. That's it. Rex replaces media buyers across 32 channels, agencies, multiple reporting dashboards, fraudulent protection tools, jargon-filled consultants, and actually drives results. And we invented a new model, ad vesting, like investing, but for ads. We only take a 10% success fee if we deliver a guaranteed 2x ROAS. No 2x, no fee. We take the risk because we've already de-risked the system. This isn't theory. Rex is in private beta with 12 brands right now. Here is month 1 of Rex achieving a 6.1x ROAS. The client next month will spend $6K next month in order to achieve a 36K or higher revenue. So we reach saturation in your category. We move on. We add ad channels to reach new customers in your category, keeping it very, very simple. And we have thousands of companies on the wait list. We already run an agency with 170 clients, but here's the plot twist. Rex is replacing that agency, shadowing every decision we make, learning every campaign, watching us as we make trades and move money around until the machine outperforms the humans. And we just partnered with a $400 million fund called Media Scale to give Rex users capital if they can hit a verified 1.5x ROAS. So imagine you grow your company and now you have venture scale growth with no VC dilution. Let me ask you, do you think there's 100 companies in the world that want guaranteed 2x ROAS for $1,000 a month? Of course. Can we add 20 a week? I guarantee so. That's 1,000 customers. 200 a week, that's 10,000. We could do that easily with the 4 million shops on Shopify right now. That's $120 million ARR business right there. Our goal is 1 million businesses, 12 billion in revenue, as big as a big 5 agency like Omnicom or Publicis. No waste, no guesswork, just verified growth. This is Rex. This is ad vesting. It's the end of marketing bullshit and the beginning of accountable, automated, AI-powered scale. And the future will have winners with chief marketing agents, and losers will still pay retainers to human gatekeepers. The winners have 2.5 trillion in marketing spend to play with. Are you ready to play the game? Let's go.
Very nice job. Well done. And congrats on the progress. Since we last spoke, you already have more progress. So well done. Before we announce the winner, judges, any thoughts, any comments overall on the presentations that you saw?
I could say that there wasn't a huge discrepancy in scores from my end. I thought everyone did fantastic. You know, if I look under my couch, I'll give you each everything I've got equally distributed. So great job, everyone.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree.
You
Yeah,
agree?
a lot of domain expertise and passion, and that all came through. Great job.
And congratulations to Lucas and T.
It's a team effort. So congratulations to everyone here. Just a little reminder, Pegasus, for an investor, we have the accelerator program where we invest $100,000 in companies that are ready to go from the founder-led growth, which clearly you all demonstrated that you are at that point in order to escalate for repeatable and scalable processes. It's never easy to get to that level. Just for the accelerator itself, we had over 1,000 applications of companies coming through, and we have been doing this deep dive diligence to be able to find the most promising companies that we can use our go-to-market strategies, that it's the focus of the accelerator to take the companies to the next level. So it's fun to see, you know, like that even in different industries and verticals, each one of you used to have a component that is kind of like the technology, the AI behind it in order to scale to the next level. I'm going to say this one thing in regards to the scores. It's very interesting that there was not that much discrepancy among the judges either. So And everyone actually got a pretty solid score. But there's one company that is the chosen winner. You guys ready? So the company that actually wins is being fast tracked to the diligence process. We're going to be announcing the investments that we're making in the next couple of weeks. So the winner is Hannah with Playmaker. Well done.
Thanks, guys. I'm honored, especially since was here from the beginning, so got to hear the speech, the panel. So you are all experts on like different AI things, so it means a lot. And then also the other startups, like I was listening, I'm so impressed by all of you. So I'd love to also connect after this, kind of share some best practices. But also big thank you also to T and Lucas for the opportunity to actually speak today and get to talk about Playmaker and my vision and my passion.
Very nice. Thank you. Everyone here is also going to get the opportunity to, one of the good things, like early stage startups, there's a lot of different accesses that you guys can have. So we're going to extend to everyone the perks that we have. It's $1 million in perks and benefits. So everyone is going to have access to that. And there are a couple of other programs that we also have within Pegasus to help you guys get to that level of growth and acceleration. So we're going to be reaching out to you guys to keep you on the loop because it's pretty impressive what you guys are building and the way that you've been doing this. So there's more to come. Other than that, very well done. Seriously, congratulations to everyone. All of you guys did an amazing job pitching, so very well done.
And thank you, T and Lucas. Thank you, Keith, for moderating such an excellent, intelligent panel. That was so exciting to listen to. Thank you for all of the judges for being a part of this today. And thank you, Pegasus, for this incredible group of founders, as well as letting us be a part of it. So thank you, everyone, so much.
Thanks for having us.
Guys, thank you.
It was great.
Thank
Good job,
you.
everyone. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
You guys. See you guys.
Good night.